How you doing, sir?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Good, good. I worry for Creamy now.
He's fine, I think.
Okay. I do apologize for cutting it short with the credits earlier. It
Oh
was
no, it's okay.
a movie I should have known. I have trust issues. The franchise has trained me well, I guess. Um, Lovely and very endearing movie.
Thank you.
It's nice to actually see a different perspective and seeing how Peter Parker's life is actually going rather than just Spider-Man always
Hmm.
running off to save the day. And I was actually getting worried because I was thinking like, oh no, is it are you actually going to play off on that comic scene where like Spider-Man actually dies? Because like he was beaten up, and at the end, like you see Gwen Stacy like just being concerned for him, and I'm like, okay, is this it? Is this it? Because like it was like that drama that was actually you know pulling me in, and thank God it wasn't. It would have like, well, yeah, like really, I would have fallen. Anyways, ass on fire.
Yeah, we we originally had like a whole scene planned where it was just like a whole cutaway where it would show Spider-Man and Human Torch kind of like going after this thug, and Human Torch just kind of like he's playing dodgeball essentially. He just lobs a fireball at the guy. And I was like, that's funny, but I don't know if it fits in the story like to show it. So we'll just let the audience fill it in.
Okay, okay, that's awesome. So, what inspired you to do this romance, like rom-com movie for Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy?
It's not anything we've ever seen before, like on this sort of focus. It like we've seen in the Amazing Spider-Man movies how Gwen Stacy knows his identity, and then just like a few things happen here and there. But I wanted to dive into what would happen if this is a world where Gwen Stacy blames Peter Parker for the death of a parent, kind of like in the comic books. So I switched it up with which parent it was, and that Peter would be like, okay, maybe it's time that I let her see the real me if she's really wanting to get married. And so he kind of has to deal with the whole fallout of that.
Okay, okay. So is this well? I wish it was the same. It was a concept of, you know, like what if Gwen Stacy didn't fall and all that. But in this, the Gwen Stacy that we are seeing, she really does seem like the nerdy science girl that they
Mm-hmm.
her in the comic books. And with that, it made me feel like, oh my gosh, like this girl, like I'm like feeling it. I see why Peter Parker actually is with her, and it just felt sad that he just didn't propose. I was like, I'm seeing the hand there,
She's so excited. Yeah.
Yeah, come on, man, do it. But I was just with that idea in mind. I was just were you trying to actually portray, I guess, like a certain type of like style of Peter Parker? I know that there have been like many different tropes of him in the past, but anything that actually resonated with you that actually influenced this Peter Parker?
My biggest inspirations were Andrew Garfield, Peter Parker, and the PlayStation Peter Parker. They're just so, I think they're the most relatable versions of the character that are, I guess, within similar age groups where you're dealing with a Peter Parker that's gone through high school, gone through college. He's on the next part of his life, getting ready to kind of settle down, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I took a lot of inspiration from those two versions of the character.
Okay, it's wonderful, wonderful. And why Johnny Storm?
He's a no brainer to me because in the comic books, Peter Parker and Johnny Storm have such like a good back and forth dynamic. And so I think it was like, hey, this is representative of this era of Spider-Man. This is what it's indicative of. This is like, what
Yeah.
I want people to see.
Okay.
And I wanted to be there first before the MCU could do it.
Ah, okay. That's lovely. Uh, I enjoyed this the angles you were actually using to kind of allow Peter and Gwen actually interact and maybe even wait, especially on that last scene where she's like, telling her like, let's just meet me for a dance. And it was so endearing, it was so
Thank
endearing.
you.
I love the pace. It was just perfect. So,
Thank you.
of course, of course. What challenges did you actually find yourself in making this film?
Making a Spider-Man film in the pandemic was, I think, the biggest one because I was like, okay, I can't really go anywhere and I don't have access to a lot of people. And so that's what inspired it to be, one apartment complex, not really any sort of Spider-Man shenanigans. Peter Parker, Johnny Storm, Gwen Stacy, the animals in the apartment. That's it.
Okay, okay. And in the editing process, were you alone at that?
I edited the entire film myself, but the credit sequence, especially like the little the end title card, was done by a good friend of mine, and he had a lot of good input. He used to watch the different drafts of the movie back to back to back to back. I'd be like, okay, how's this change or how's this change? And I feel for the guy. He had to watch that like 7 different times.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, it's the editing process. Obviously, you're gonna have to watch it over and over again.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
first of it.
Hmm.
But when I guess working with your partner was in the romantic scene, uh, what's it called? Like, who was holding the camera? I felt like you guys were like exchanging, spaces to actually like get both of you
Hmm.
each shot.
So it was myself, it was her, and then we had a few other camera operators. Johnny Storm helped with the camera at one point, and then we didn't even include the shot he shot. But most of it was my one roommate, Alex, who he was the guy in the hallway. And so he's kind of like a perfectionist and he really wanted to help out in the cinematography. And so I think I wouldn't have been able to do the film at all without him. Just because like he had such good ideas for shots and just an eye for camera work. It was wonderful having him help out.
Ah, it's lovely. It's lovely. Uh, were there? Which one was your favorite scene to work on?
Um, my favorite scene to work on would probably have been the conversation where Peter goes and gets the costume and comes back out. Because it was a lot of fun coming up with, oh, what would Gwen be doing while he's going to get the costume? Is she excited? Is she scared? And so it's a lot of fun kind of like playing that up. Because in the script, it was maybe just a few sentences, whereas she was able to get a whole performance out of it, just with the ideas that she was able to come up with.
Uh, in writing the script, did you go through too many drafts or?
I wouldn't say so. We originally had this idea for what this movie used to be. It was this whole huge thing where Spider-Man gets the symbiote suit, he fights the Spot and like a few other villains like Tarantula, and it was this whole huge big thing. And eventually it got to be like a little too much, and so scaled it back, and then right until we feel it's the right way to have them film. So it had quite a few drafts before, because a lot of the times it felt like, hey, maybe we're leaning a little too much into telling and not showing.
Right. Okay. Okay. In filming the whole of this movie, did you use multiple cameras? Is it just one camera? What camera did you use?
We used one camera. It was the Panasonic Lumix G7.
Ah, nice, nice. Was lighting hard?
It was very hard because we just had like a typical apartment lighting setup where it was a little too dim on camera, and then We had some like extra lights, but it was way too sterile compared to the rest of the lights.
Right.
But we tried to make use of a lot of natural lighting where we could.
Nice. And as for sound, was that tricky?
It was a little tricky. I don't have any external microphones that I purchased, so for the most part, what I would do is I would just take my phone, put it somewhere nearby, and record.
Ah, okay.
Mhm.
Smart idea. Um, all right. And lastly, was the Spider-Man costume just that apron? Oh, is this the one that
Oh no, no, no! The apron was like a separate thing I bought years ago, but the Spider-Man costume, it's a full costume that
like the one that you
I designed myself and then got printed at the same place that the Spider-Man Hunted guys did.
oh, okay.
Print costume.
Ah, fantastic. Okay, okay. Any words of encouragement for filmmakers that want to be with your spots?
Uh, Biggest thing is just write what you want to write, and then writing is the I think the biggest part of creating a fan project because we're working with limited budget, limited resources. So find a way to think outside of the box, working with them and being a little bit ambitious where you can. But writing, I think, is what saves a lot of fan films. It's what makes them so resonant to people.
Any last words before you head out? Where can we actually find more of your work? Do you have a website?
It is on YouTube under the channel Tough Cookie Media. I have a whole series of these fan films. This is actually the fourth one in the series.
Yeah. Okay. Well, please leave it in the chat so others can actually follow you. And
Will
thank you
do.
so much.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Have a good day. And
You too.
enjoy the festival.
I will. Thank you so much.